my name is Guido Caranti. I'm originally from Argentina, studied industrial engineering there. I moved to the US in '96 to go to business school at the University of Texas. And my first job after business school was here in Houston, so I've been in Houston since 1996. As I said, I studied industrial engineering in Argentina, and I've worked. My first job out of college was for an oil and gas company. Then I moved into a power generation company. My first job in the U.S. in Houston was for an energy company called Enron, and I worked developing LNG projects in Venezuela. I moved into the strictly investment world by first working for a family office, a multi-billion-dollar family office in Houston. And then with their help, I started a private equity fund with two other partners to invest in businesses that sell products and services to Hispanic immigrants. Immigrants go through a lot of hardship in search for work. They move, they leave the language, the culture they like, to come to the U.S. To find more fulfilling and more better paying jobs to maintain their families. But when they come, they want to be in touch with their culture. So we invested in businesses that help them do that. Basically, we invested in a chain of supermarkets that would sell them the products that they are used to consume in their country. And also we invested in a company that helped them send money back to their families, a money transfer, a remittance company. And now I kind of changed course and I own a high-end Western wear retail chain. Again, this is my own business. I'm excited about it because we are selling a part of the heritage of this country, the heritage of the West, which I arrived at the investment space kind of by accident. My first job in this oil and gas company was evaluating new investments for them. So I developed kind of the expertise, and the rest is, I don't want to see the explicit hand of God in everything, but you see providence playing out, and I've always landed in places that had that bent of putting capital to work and supporting companies that do good for people. No? At the same time of creating, being profitable, no? Which, for investors. Because profit is the first sign that you're doing what you ought to be doing, because it means that people are willing to pay for something. That means that they need it. So profits is a great indication that what you're doing is something that people want and need. So that's kind of the world of investment. Is precisely evaluating what people need. Not I have my idea of what I want to sell people, and then if people don't want it, well, that I fail. My role as an investor is try to figure out what people really need, and put capital behind them. I've had a lot of stress in my life, more as a fruit of a personality than pressures of the job. But yes, there is a lot of stress because there's a lot of responsibility when you're entrusted with other people's money to invest it and make something fruitful out of that. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world of investing, so that brings a lot of stress and having pull through times of a lot of not knowing what the future is going to bring, and investment behind something that has a lot of risk, and so you have a lot of stress until you see it come out the other side. Those things, but the reality is also that the world is not perfect, and the needs of people change. At some point in history, the iPhone came up, and it killed the Palm Pilot. Okay, so there is a natural rebalancing that needs to happen, and it's okay. I mean, that's progress that needs to happen. So you can't save the labor force of Palm Pilot, because you can't save it. I mean, it's so the world is in the economy, the world of business is in constant turmoil in that way. So yes, you can do as much as you can, but at the same time, private equity plays somewhat of that role of reoriented capital to better and higher things. And profit is a reflection that what you're doing is what the market wants. So at the end of the day, you have to make a lot of decisions that are towards profit, but also you're working with people, and at least in our case, that was always a big consideration in terms of when you fire, how much you pay, when you hire, how much you train. Then you have to see each particular thing. Of course, private equity is always bad-mouthed, because capital goes to the higher and best use, and that changes over time, and that means that what yesterday worked now doesn't work, and that affects workers, and that affects but that's part of life. It's that's true with me. I was once a professional of 25 that was great in analytics, and I was marketable back then. Now I'm 53. If the business I'm working with now fails, there's not a market for me in the labor market. Okay, it's so, but that's the reality. I can't complain about that. That's life.
So can you talk about your faith and how that has influenced how you look at your business as an investor, your business now as basically owning a high-end Western wear company? How does your faith shape or change or influence how you look at your work?
Well, I had the fortune of meeting the institution founded by San Jose Maria Escrivá, Opus Dei, which was founded by divine inspiration in 1928. That came to teach us lay people that we have the same call to sanctity as anybody, as someone that has a religious vocation or a priestly vocation, and that our sanctification is through what we're called to do, which is work. And within work, this is a larger definition of work, because being a father and a husband is part of what our role is part of our work. I work here, but also I need to work at home, being a father and a husband. So that's also my job. Work was seen for a long time as a punishment for original sin, and that's absolutely not true. God put man in the Garden of Eden, ut operaretur. So before the fall, before the serpent and before eating of the tree, God put man in the Garden of Eden to keep it and till it, and ut operaretur, which means to work. So work is not a consequence of the fall. Work is our cooperation in the creative act of God. The fact that we get tired and that it's difficult is part of the fall. But the fact that we're called by the Creator to co-create with Him was part of the original design and has nothing to do with the original sin and with the fall. So that's something that Saint Josemaria that's his message, which he continues by saying, you know, our Lord became man, and you know, his public life was 3 years. Before, he worked for 30. I would say maybe 20, or maybe he started helping Joseph at 6, I don't know. But he worked, and he was known as Faber Filius, the son of the worker. That means that this particular worker was a pretty good worker. So work is part of our dignity. I mean, we are created in the image and likeness, and that includes creation. So we are co-creating. So it's part of our calling. It's an integral part of who we are. If we don't work, we're destroying who we are. That's what. And Saint Josemaria came to say that our calling is to do precisely that, to be like Saint Joseph, or to be like our Lord before his public life, hidden, completely hidden. There's almost hardly anything on the Gospels about those years. As lay people, we're called to become saints through work. That's our calling. Not that, you know, that we're called to become saints by praying when we're not working. No, work is prayer. That's what Saint Josemaria came to see. A work, or an hour of work well done, with the right intention, and offered up to him, and doing humanly as perfect as we can make it, is an hour of prayer. It's as if you had prayed on your knees. That doesn't exclude praying on your knees in front of the Blessed Sacrament, but it has the same value. Another thing that I would just say that the value of that work is not that I would say, is that the teaching of the Church says, and Saint Josemaria emphasizes it, the value of that work doesn't depend on what you do or the prestige of the thing you do, but in the love that you put into it. So Saint Josemaria, you know, a lot of members of Opus Dei eventually would, become ministers in Spain, and he would be told this, and he would say, I don't care. Is he becoming a saint in what he's doing? You know, is how much love is the guy sweeping the street could be, in the eyes of God, be doing a more important job than the prime minister, if he's putting more love in what he's doing, in doing it with perfection and with the right intention. So anyway, that is um, what San Jose Maria says by the sanctification of work. Anyway, that's basically it. I just came from a 5-day long workshop that ended on Sunday. That I do once a year, where we talk about all these things, but also receive formation. I mean, the topic of this course in particular was moral theology. So we talked about in depth about fortitude, temperance, and justice, and prudence. Basically, we had like 12 classes about 4 virtues. So it's just general Catholic formation that informs. Anyway, it's nothing that is nothing new. It's something as old as the church and as new as the church. But with the knowledge that as married men and working in the middle of the world, our sanctification is behind that desk. It's not that this takes away from my sanctification. It's actually through this that I need to get to heaven. And not just through this, it's through our role as parents. I mean, Saint Jose Maria would say, would tell, Bene, your path to heaven has a name, and that name is Camila. He always said that. And my path to heaven, the name is Pilar. Of course, the wife is first, and the kids. But we do this for them. If we start doing this for our prestige and for the love of money, well, that's not sanctified. One thing is that the profit is an indication that I'm doing what society wants. But if I'm pursuing profit for the sake of profit, for self-gratification, that's not sanctification. Okay, sanctification is I want to help society. And you know how we are human beings. Our motives are all mixed, and we have to rectify our intention constantly. And that's why we receive weekly formation, because we have to remind ourselves, constantly that, hey, why are you working? Because we are totally normal human beings and we have the same temptations. Okay, I see a Mercedes 500 and I like it, and but we have to remind it that happiness is not in that. Yes.
I don't believe in balances. For myself, I want everything from my job and I want everything from my family. Or I want to give everything I can to my job and I want to give everything I can to my family. I want to give everything to my friends. And I don't think there is a way to set clear lines. Say 8 hours you're in the job and then you have 3 hours for your family and then 2 hours for your friends. What helps you in getting or giving everything you can to all the different aspects that are somehow related? Because again, when you work for your family. But if you tell your wife, I need to stay at work 24 hours and it is for you, she will say, no, I need you home to take care of the kids. Sometimes she understands and lets you travel and so on. I don't know if the question is clear, but...
It is clear, but I mean, what helps me is that my wife calls me and tells me, what are you doing? And I obey, because I know she's right. I tend to linger, and there's always the work in my profession never ends. Basically, you can always do more, and there are other professions where it ends. If you're a surgeon, well, you finish the surgery and that was the last for the day. And on what I do, you can always analyze more, look at more data. It never ends. So you either set limits for yourself, which some people are really good at, and I should be better at. But if I don't, I hear it from my wife, and since I know she's right, because I've I've studied, and I know that there has to be I have to be reminded of what I work for. I kind of follow, although she would like me to get home earlier than I do. But anyway, anyway, I haven't achieved perfection, but that's a struggle, is to try to be better.
I have a question that maybe is not super smart, but you said that the teaching of the church is that the value of work is in the love you have more than the outcome you produce or the prestige of the work, and so the power and so on. But when you have challenging situations, I mean, a supplier that is not delivering, people who are taking advantage of situations in daily work life, these things happen all the time. People showing up consistently late or going around you. Where do you find the strength but even the motivation to love? Love for me is always love to a person. It's easy to love a concept, but the challenge is, and it becomes real when you love someone. How do you find the strength and the motivation to love those people? Not accepting.
I would say no. When I say love, it's not love of the job; it's love of God through the job. So San Jose Maria would say, "Nulle dies sine croce," not a single day without the cross. So precisely when you have those kinds of contradictions, is when you can unite yourself more to the cross, and through that union, those things that you were this close to nailing a sale, and all of a sudden your competitor paid a bribe to the purchasing manager, and you lost the sale, and you say, okay, Lord, how did you leave this how do you let this happen? You see that I'm pissed, I know I shouldn't be pissed, so I offer this, I unite this sorrow to your sorrow, and that's love. That's the love that he's looking for. It's love for him, and for yours, of course, and for your co-workers. I mean, because love for him implies love for the rest of humanity. So that's the kind of love that I'm saying. It's just, I didn't mean love like love your job because everything is going great. No, you show more love for God when things are, when you have the cross in your work. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.